This week, we're pulling back the curtain on the Kremlin, where a single, seemingly minor event, the cancellation of a high-profile summit, sent ripples of speculation through the global media. The question on everyone's mind, has Russia's veteran foreign minister Sergei Lavrov finally fallen out of favor with President Vladimir Putin? And more importantly, why did the Kremlin feel compelled to issue a swift, categorical denial? The story begins with the abrupt collapse of a planned summit between President Putin and US President Donald Trump. The meeting, which was meant to take place in Budapest, was called off by the U.S. side shortly after a conversation between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Minister Lavrov. Reports suggested that a hardline message from Lavrov's ministry regarding Ukraine demands was the final straw for Washington. Almost immediately, the rumor mill started churning, and the speculation wasn't entirely baseless. Lavrov, a fixture of Russian diplomacy for over 2 decades, was conspicuously absent from a major Kremlin meeting he would typically attend. Furthermore, President Putin chose a different official to attend an upcoming G20 summit in South Africa, a role Lavrov has often filled. For 2 weeks, the foreign ministry even kept his travel schedule under wraps. These omissions, however small, were enough to fuel a narrative that the failure of the Trump summit had cost Lavrov his standing with Putin. The response from the Kremlin was unusually quick and definitive. When asked directly if Lavrov was in trouble, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov's answer was brief and to the point. "I will give you a brief answer. There is nothing true in these reports." He went on to confirm, "Absolutely, Lavrov is working as foreign minister, of course." This wasn't a vague deflection, it was a clear, unambiguous dismissal. But why the urgency? Why couldn't the Kremlin simply let the rumors fade away, as they often do? The answer lies in the fundamental role Lavrov plays in the Russian political system and the message any perceived rift would send to both domestic and international audiences. To understand the denial, you have to understand Sergei Lavrov. He is more than just a foreign minister. He is the face of Russian diplomacy. For over 20 years, he has been a constant, a rock of continuity through shifting geopolitical tides. His longevity in the role is a testament to his loyalty and his ability to execute Putin's foreign policy vision, no matter how controversial. He is a veteran, a master of the diplomatic game, known for his robust, often abrasive negotiating style. In the current climate, with Russia engaged in a full-scale war in Ukraine and facing unprecedented international isolation, Lavrov's stability is a critical asset. He is the primary conduit for communication with the few nations still willing to engage with Moscow, and he is the most recognizable and consistent voice defending Russia's actions on the world stage. A public perception of a rift would immediately signal instability and disarray at the highest levels of the Russian government. It would suggest a failure in the foreign policy apparatus, which is something the Kremlin cannot afford to project right now. Beyond Lavrov's personal importance, the dismissal was a strategic necessity for 2 key reasons: domestic control and international signaling. Domestically, the Kremlin operates on a principle of absolute, unquestioned unity around President Putin. Any suggestion that a long-serving, high-ranking official like Lavrov is being sidelined or punished creates a narrative of internal weakness. It suggests that the system is not monolithic, that there are cracks, and that even the most loyal figures are vulnerable. This kind of narrative is corrosive to the image of strength and control that the Kremlin meticulously cultivates. Internationally, the speculation was directly tied to the failure of a major diplomatic initiative, the Trump summit. If Lavrov was being punished for the failure, it would imply that the Kremlin viewed the summit's collapse as a significant setback, and that they were willing to sacrifice a key figure to manage the fallout. By denying the rift, the Kremlin is essentially saying, there is no crisis. Our foreign policy is consistent and our team is united. Furthermore, the foreign ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova framed the speculation as part of a hybrid war against Russia, specifically targeting a Financial Times article. This is a classic Kremlin tactic, to immediately reframe any negative internal narrative as a malicious attack by external enemies. It shifts the focus from internal accountability to external defense, reinforcing the siege mentality that underpins much of Russia's current policy. So, what does the dismissal really tell us? It tells us that in the world of Russian politics, perception is reality. Whether or not there was a genuine moment of tension between Putin and Lavrov is almost secondary to the fact that the rumor itself was a threat to the Kremlin's narrative of control. The dismissal was a clear message. Lavrov is not going anywhere. His continued presence is a symbol of continuity, stability, and the unwavering commitment to the current foreign policy course. It reassures the domestic elite that the system is stable, and it signals to the world that Russia's diplomatic posture remains firm. However, the incident also highlights the extreme sensitivity of the Russian political system. In a system where power is so centralized, even a brief absence or a change in a travel schedule can be interpreted as a sign of a political earthquake. The Kremlin's swift action was a damage control operation designed to stamp out that perception before it could gain any real traction. The diplomatic tightrope is a dangerous place, and for now, Sergei Lavrov remains firmly on the wire, supported by the Kremlin's insistence on a united front. The speculation may have been dismissed, but the underlying tensions, the war in Ukraine, the need for diplomatic breakthroughs, and the absolute necessity of projecting strength remain the defining challenges for Moscow. Thank you for tuning in. You can find links to the Reuters article and other sources in the show notes.